Social media can be a very negative and unforgiving place, but every once in a while, a light shines through the darkness and you end up connecting with someone who loves horse racing as much as you do. Such is the case with today's guest. But before I introduce him, let's go through the weekly drill. Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Scatoni, and welcome back for another edition of Best Bet as we close out a perfect Thanksgiving weekend here at Del Mar. As I always like to remind folks, this is not a traditional selection show. We are not going to talk about every race. We are just going to look at specific races and wagering strategies that offer the best opportunities to make a decent score. If you're watching live, feel free to leave us a comment or ask us any questions. The show will also be archived on Del Mar's Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube platforms. So back to today's guest. We formed a Twitter friendship many, many years ago because of horse racing and betting. And at one point, I suggested he should start playing tournaments because I knew just how good he would be. So he did, and he has been terrific. He's cashed in many big contests, but more importantly, he's also such a good daily player. And I know because he shares his plays with me, so I can see exactly how he attacks a card. I had the pleasure of having him do my on-track handicapping seminar back in 2019, but I know he hasn't been to Del Mar since COVID hit, so I'm thrilled to have him here on the show remotely from Shreveport, Louisiana. Please welcome Paul Kush. Paul, what's good?
Thanks for having me. Everything's good.
Good. That's what I like to hear. First, I want to say, before we start talking horses, thank you for joining us today. I know you were at the LSU A&M game yesterday, so you probably had a long day and a lot of fun. So thanks for coming on and doing the work.
Oh yeah, we're gonna channel our inner Jaden Daniels today, and try to pick Del Mar apart like we did A&M yesterday.
And by the way, Terry is a very good sport. She said, "Congratulations on your victory, and look out next year."
Yeah, well, I might not be as good a sport.
Well, that's why you're a horse player. I like it. That competitive spirit. All right, so let's pivot a little bit and move to horses. I know you love Del Mar. We've bonded so much over Del Mar, but you haven't been able to get out here for a while. I know you're super busy. You're in Shreveport, but why is Del Mar so special to you? What about it makes it one of your favorite tracks?
Well, growing up in Shreveport, we had really a famous gambler that a lot of people knew in the Midwest. His name was Larry Speck, and he loved Del Mar, and he loved California because the Pick Six carryover is a big Pick Six player. And, so I hung around him growing up, and, it was really kind of fell in love more with horses and gambling because of him. And he one time ran a horse out at California that had just worked at Louisiana Downs, actually Benton Training Center, with under a jockey named Kurt Bork. And so a couple of days later, I was playing tennis. Kurt Bork and I were playing against Larry and his brother. And Kurt said, what's that stakes horse that I just worked? And Larry said, don't worry about it. It was actually still a maiden. And he shipped the maiden up to Del Mar and ran it in the maiden 20 race, and it won by like 20 lengths. And Larry cashed out for over $1 million in cash at Louisiana Downs. And it's probably some other cash for the others, illegally bookmakers or something. But yeah, I don't know what the final total was, but I just love Del Mar. And my buddy moved from Shreveport out to San Diego, and he, convinced me to finally come out there one year. And then I think I made like 19 years straight trips, and just love the place. It's my happy place. I absolutely love the track. Just and plus I'm leaving Shreveport when it's 105 degrees in August. Right. You get there and it's 70. It's kind of hard not to fall in love with the place.
Yeah. Well, I maybe I'm making this up, or maybe I'm dreaming it. I don't remember because it was like, a year or two ago, but correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you have Where the Turf Meets the Surf played at your wedding?
I did. The groom's cake was cut to Where the Turf Meets the Surf.
Yeah. I remember you sent me the video.
Yeah. I think I was probably the only reception that ever went from Bing Crosby to Candy Shop.
Oh man, that is awesome. Like I said, I know you've been so busy. I hope you can get out to Del Mar next summer. We'd love to have you. See you post
Definitely.
up in the veranda.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the best,
Right.
best spot in the house.
All right. Well, I mentioned in the intro how you and I, we started talking about, getting you involved in contests because we go back and forth. And Paul, you'd be great at this. You'd be great. Well, I never tried it. I don't know. And you did. You dipped your toe in the water, and you've had instant success. And I know you've been having success ever since. So obviously, you started to do it. You started to like it. You started to have success. What appeals to you when it comes to contests?
I don't know. I like the competition.
Yeah.
I like seeing the same names on the leaderboard, and I like even when I have a bad day, you go look who the better players had and figure out why they had them, and you're just like constantly learning. And all I used to play was California, so Hollywood Park, Del Mar, Santa Anita, and like I knew those horses like the back of my hand. So I mean, to me, it was so much easier than when it was Hollywood Park was still going because, I think a lot of, people get bogged down in speed figures and lots of different handicapping. But like, if you know the horses in and out and the horses that don't want to be on the inside, or, jockeys that are going to, what they're going to, a jockey that's going to, what they're going to do from a specific post position, they're going to get hung out. Are they going to sin? Are they going to take back? So when you learn that so much, it's so much easier to handicap because, like, I really don't care what horse so-and-so, what figure he ran.
Right.
He's not going to run on the inside. Like, I've seen him 100 times. He's chicken. So the one thing about contest play is it's impossible to know every circuit. It's impossible to know every horse. So it really forces you to become a much better handicapper and forces you to really be value specific in what you're looking for when you're going against, great players everywhere that do know certain tracks in and out,
Yeah, I agree with you. Like you, I mean, California is my thing. That's what I do all year round. But when I do step out and play a tournament that has other tracks, like I get excited about it. I get excited to look at this, and it's almost like you have to go back to when you first started to learn how to handicap. You have to rely on those fundamentals and those foundational concepts you built when you first started cutting your teeth as a handicapper, because you don't know those horses, you don't know those jockeys, you don't know the tendencies of the trainers. Are they, whatever their specific strengths and weaknesses are. So it forces you to continue to A, sharpen the skills you learned many, many years ago, and B, to become a better handicapper.
Yeah. We just talked about, I said I needed the one at Aqueduct to get in the BC feeder. Where I looked, there's 2 races at Aqueduct, 2 at Laurel. I'll spend the most time on the 2 at Laurel, and then it'll take me a few more minutes for the 2 at Aqueduct because I do follow New York racing. And then California, I can just fly through it in, a couple of minutes and make my picks just because I know the horses so well and I know what I'm looking for. So, those are the kind of tournaments I like to look for when it's, more tilted toward the California tracks because it just takes us less time.
Right. Yeah. So speaking of that, did that race go off? Did you
I think it's 7 minutes.
7 minutes. All right. Well, we'll check back in 7 minutes. I don't want you to miss the result there. So you talk about, being able to handicap California races so much more efficiently and quickly because you know the circuit so well. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about your daily play. One of the things I respect so much about your approach is that you have a game plan. You have sent me texts before the races start at Del Mar, mapping out exactly how you're going to tackle a card. A lot of folks, A, don't have that kind of dedication and work ethic to do it, and B, they don't have the discipline to map something out and then stick to it. They'll end up, maybe getting a little too loose in the early races, even though they needed to save their bankroll for the late races. So, walk us through that process. Sure, you can go to the racetrack and go race by race and just have fun. But if you want to make money at this game and be a serious player, you need to have dedication and you need to have a game plan.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, because like, no one wants to be drawn dead at the end when, you have something that you really liked. So I just try to map it out, whether it be a strong pick 3, pick 5, pick 4, like where is my main opinion? What am I going to map the day around? And then, of course, if I'm actually going to the track or it's a day at Del Mar, I'm going to have an opinion in probably every race because I'm just going to want to get involved naturally for being live
Right.
at the track. So, I'll sprinkle different things that I might not play if I was just sitting at home today on a Sunday. But yeah, I just think that, it makes you more disciplined in the fact that if you have a better play late, you already know you want to hold that bullet back instead of getting loose after a bad beat or something.
Exactly. No, I know it's so hard to actually have that kind of discipline because one of the toughest things in this game is the mental side. A buddy of ours, Leo Vukmanovic, he is so good at just turning the page. You cannot get a bad beat in the last race, cost you, a significant amount of money. You can sit there and stew about it and let it ruin the rest of the day and put you on tilt and let it impact your bankroll and handicapping in the next few races. Or you can just fortitude, turn the page. You know what? I made all the right decisions. The outcome wasn't what I expected, but I don't think I could have done anything differently. Shut it down, move on for the next opportunity. But believe me, that's easier said than done.
No, that's a huge part of anything, whether you're trading stocks, betting horses, playing sports, anything where you can second guess decisions and, you're at the mercy of a rider, a horse, a CEO, or a wide receiver. Like you can always can put yourself in position to just mentally go bad. And we're all guilty of it, But I think that's a huge and not really talked about enough side of handicapping is the mental. I'm really good at it at the NHC. It's funny as I actually like all the distraction. I like so much going on. So I think it hurts so many people. And I'm really good at putting my earpods on, putting on some classical music, get relaxed, and just totally stay focused. And I could not move out of the chair all day just to go back and forth. And, but it's not so easy other times. But for some reason, which a lot of people find the NHC hard, I really kind of thrive on that. I like that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. A cap horse hits, and there's a couple of people cheering, and the rest of the room is defeated. And they go, "Oh, I didn't have the horse," and then they start chasing. They're like, "Well, I need a cap horse." It just totally messes up with the mindset of the game.
Right.
So yeah, you have to have 800 people in a ballroom, and there's noises going on, people cheering, people throwing their racing form down. Like it's a circus. So if you can't stay focused,
absolutely, yeah.
And
so many people would be they're scratched at the starting gate, but they're still in there making noise, So I love that environment.
I love it. Well, let's talk a little bit about handicapping. I know you're a very, very good race watcher. I know you do a lot of trip handicapping. I know you also pay attention to track biases. But just give us a general overview of kind of how you approach handicapping a race. I know it's really second nature for you because you, like you said, the California circuit so much and everybody's tendencies, but, just kind of give us a brief walkthrough of when you open the form and start looking at the card.
Well, I think if it's like, if it's California, I'm more looking at horses and seeing where I think everyone's going to be. And then if it's at a track that I don't follow as much, it's more, the basic principles that everyone probably uses is, the pace of the race, where is everyone going to be, and how fast they have to go to get there, and just I guess I don't know, it's just everyone I think kind of handicaps very similar, unless they're playing just going off computer picks. But track to me, my most successes comes from horses on and against track biases, tossing horses out. And, I just think there's huge value in horses that computers can't objectively identify ran actually better than the figure or numbers that it's computing. Where it's a huge inside rail day and a horse makes a move and he's wide every step of the way and gets to beat 3 or 4 lengths, the way I figure is he probably would have been a winner on an even track, depending on how extreme the bias was. And to me, that's the one thing to me is not really strongly baked into the computer players. A lot of the sharp players know, but they don't account for near the handle that the computers account for.
Right. I agree with you. If you can find the 1 or 2 things that the computers can't really quantify and put into their algorithm, that gives the non-computer match players a little bit of a fighting chance. It's still very difficult, but it does give us a little bit of an edge. Same thing by going live to the track. You could stand there in the paddock and you could look at the horses. And if you have a good eye for that kind of thing, that's something no computer program could ever quantify. So that gives you a little bit of an edge. So how do you identify a track bias? And how do you keep copious database full of notes, and you have to know when the horse is going to come back. I mean, it's easy to say, oh yeah, I think there's a track bias, but how do you identify it and use that information to your advantage?
Well, I do have a buddy who does a lot of the actual hard labor work on it, and he does about 12 tracks across the country. So I keep up with it that way, and I'll go back and basically just look at horses' odds, how they performed, and then it's just something that's kind of like second nature. I've done it for so long. You can just kind of tell when horses you can outrun what they should have run, and then horses that underperform, and then there's multiple horses on the same car that underperform that had the same trips. It just
I agree with you. To me, all right, so out of the 4 dirt races today, they were all won by speed horses on the inside. Okay, but that doesn't mean it's a bias. They were all 8-5. They were supposed to be on the lead on the inside and winning. To me, It's the same with you. If I have a horse that I really, really like, and the horse doesn't run the way I expected that horse to run, and I can see, that horse was stuck down on the inside, and around the turn he was just climbing and treading water. I go, let me look, and then you start paying attention a little more. Same thing. If there's a horse that I gave no chance to, and that horse wins on the inside at 30-1, and no one could. It's like a conveyor belt, and no one could pass that horse, and the outside horses are toiling. That's going to make me go, hey, not necessarily a bias. Maybe that horse just stuck up and won that, but it's going to make me question and dig a little deeper. So same thing as you. I mean, it's outperforming and underperforming, and to me, those are the keys of figuring out the bias. And then, that's one half of it. Then the other half is you got to pay attention for when that horse comes back.
Right. And I used to be really good at determining it as the races go on, and sometimes it's so extreme, but a lot of times it's really, it's won't be until a week after till I'll go back and look and oh wow, now I know why my horse ran so poorly there, because when you're looking at multiple tracks, it's hard to keep up with everything that's going on.
Yeah. So. I'm with you. Let's just, before we get into the races you want to talk about, let's just talk real quickly about betting. I know on Twitter you go by the handle Pick6Paul. Right. And true to that name, you played the Pick6 carryover on Thanksgiving Day at Del Mar, and you hit it for a very nice score. Are you happy that Del Mar brought back the traditional Pick6 this fall?
I hate the jackpot. I wish it went to $2, actually. I mean, the $1's okay.
Yeah, but $2 was the old school way.
Yeah, I like the old school way. To me, it gives the people the people that are sharper. I'm not saying that I'm always sharp, a better chance at a better score, because even with $1, it still allows you, especially on that Pick6. If that would have been a $2 Pick6, it would have paid more.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it was a little more difficult than the payout suggested, but there's a couple races you can really key in on, and then with $1, it still allows you a little more spread. So
the higher the minimum, the better the handicapper you have to be. The lower the minimum, the more money in your bankroll. It becomes important, because then you can just start throwing in horses that you don't even like. Oh well, I'll just throw this one, I'll throw that, and then fine. But for a $2 increment, you start doing that. Next thing you know, your ticket's $2,000, and it's
Right.
like, well, I can't play that.
Yeah, it promotes better handicapping because you really have to start making decisions early.
Yep.
And having stronger opinions about the race. So you either play it or you don't play it. Because if you don't have an opinion, you can't play a $2 ticket because it's going to cost you a fortune.
Exactly. So I agree with you. I wish it was still the $2 minimum, but I am happy to take this $1 as a compromise because with you, I do not like the jackpot wagers. I do not like that 20-cent minimum because then, like I said, it's the guy who has the bigger bankroll and the computer teams as compared to someone who can actually really use their handicapping and strengths to maybe knock out a vast majority of the field when it's at that $2 minimum.
No, I totally agree.
And then anything else like a specific bets you really like to target? Because obviously I know you like to play the pick five, but you can't play that in a contest. So
right.
You just, different little bit of a different mindset. So
yeah, it really, I used to just be so hard stuck on the pick five, but now, I mean, they are hard. And sometimes I've just missed out on easy pick threes and stuff. So I just really kind of look at every card individually and then instead of like trying to put myself in a box as a certain
right.
kind of player. Yeah. And I've really started to play a lot more trifectas.
Yeah.
Because it seems like if I get the race right, I'm 1, 2, 3. And if I'm wrong, I'm nowhere. So
Right. You take the money out of a single race as opposed to having to worry about 5 races in a sequence.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's something I need to get better about too, because it's my brain is conditioned to pick the winner of the race, right? So you want to pick 4 or 5 winners in a row, but there's so much money to be made if you can bet, if you can bet vertically and just focus on one race and just try and extract as much money as you can from that race if you have the right opinion.
Okay, by the way, 40-1 won the race at Aqueduct, but somehow I still got in.
You still got in. So what's the first race for the second? Now you play in the qualifier, the actual qualifier.
Right. It's race 7 at Aqueduct.
And what time does that start? I don't want to keep you too long.
Oh no, we're fine. We're good.
All right. All right. Well, this is such good stuff. I can talk to you all day about this, Paul. But we got some races to get into. It's a 9-race Sunday card. Featured native diver. I know you want to start off in race 3, so I'll set it up. It's a $25,000 claimer for fillies and mares going 5 furlongs on the turf. The rails are at 12 feet. Morning line favorite is number 8 Phenom at 2-1. This Phil D'Amato trainee makes the second start of her form cycle, drops in half to a claiming price of $25K. It's a little concerning for a lightly raced 4-year-old who does have some form against much tougher animals. And we all know D'Amato doesn't give anything away, but speed, top jock. Is she in it to win it, or do you think she's more claim bait?
Well, I think she's in it to win it, but I think it's a terrible spot for her drawn outside. The one horse is dropping too. To me, there just looks like a ton of speed in this race. Okay. The one has to go from the rail. The 2 is probably just in for a prep because she really wants to go longer. The 3 comes out of a Los Al 1,000-yard race. It's got to go. The 4 Angel Sense at one time would have probably just crushed this field, but she's got to go. And she's quirky. She's bolted many times. So Phenom's got to go. And she's drawn. I can see where could be 3 wide down the backside, which that's the impossible turf trip.
Yep.
That's one of the most impossible trips in horse racing is turf sprinting, chasing 3 wide. It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I looked at this race and I don't like speed dropping when there's multiple speed dropping. So I just think that they're dropping because they're no good at the previous level. So, and speed horses can be chicken hearted. So if a bunch of them go, the race looks like collapse to me. Yeah. So I was looking for someone that could win off the pace. And I really like a new piece. It shows she's 0-3 at the distance, but I went back and looked. Her 3 turf sprints really aren't that bad. And last time out, she was chasing Equilove, who was a big dropper that day. And that October 14th day was a big speed favoring track. I think Equilove may have been the only horse that didn't go wire to wire. Now, Equilove was a turf horse, but she was making a huge drop. She cleared, and a new piece still ran her down. And I thought that was a big effort. Double jumps in class for Paul Gary. So I think this is the one that's going the right way. It's going to get a good setup. And I think her last race is actually better than it looks on paper when you take into consider that was a speed bias that she won over. So to me, 8-1, that's a great value play.
Yeah, she must be happy and healthy because I do notes with my man Tom Quigley, and we always look at the claim register. This is a 7-year-old mare. There were 4 claims in for her that day. Now that tells me a lot. And Aguirre he's been around a long time. He doesn't have the stock that he used to, but he knows what he's doing. And for him to take a horse for 12.5 and bump it up to 25, that's a confidence mover, as opposed to, like you said, the ones that are tailing up and dropping off on the way down.
Yeah. I would say Paula Gary has always been a very cagey trainer.
Yep.
Like I just, if she gets beat, she gets beat. But I just think she's going to get a great setup, and I like playing horses like that. And to me, the added bonus was that she ran down a horse over a speed favoring track. So I just think she's probably really going good. And Del Mar is a turf course that you can. It's not like Santa Anita's. I would say. It's a lot easier to go wire to wire at Santa Anita going 5/8 than is Del Mar.
I would agree with that. It's a lot of speed handles, speed carries way more on the Santa Anita turf course than it does here at Del Mar.
You can go wire to wire at Del Mar.
You can, but it's not as easy as it is at Santa Anita. So all right, so number 5, a new piece at 8-1. I know you're suggesting a win bet. But is there anything else you might do here in terms of exotics or anything like that?
I mean, if I play the pick 5, that would be my single.
Okay.
As far as vertical, it's one of these races where I can't really handicap. That's the only horse I can handicap winning the race.
Okay.
So if it doesn't win, then I just lose that race.
Right, because then anyone else could finish 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and then you bust the. So that's fine. That's why I was asking. I don't want to force you to make a. Bet you don't want to make.
Right. I mean, it's a flipping a coin. Which horse is gonna be able to stay? All the speed horses. I mean, right. To me, the favorite could run last.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she ran last. She might win she could win obviously with those connections, but I mean. She doesn't have to win.
Yeah, and the race, like you said, the race just doesn't set up for her. So I agree with you. I thought there was a lot of speed there. I wanted someone from off the pace. So I like that play. Let's move on to race 5. $40,000 optional claimer, non-winners of 1 contested. Again, turf sprint, 5 furlongs on the turf, rails at 12 feet. This one drew a pretty big field of horses. Morning line favorite is number 7, Mr. Iceman, at a tepid 7-2. That tells you how competitive this race is. Horse ran twice at this level and distance over the summer. 1 good race, 1 bad race. Pratt takes the call for a trainer who does win a lot of these races, but it looks like you're against this horse. I know that your original selection, Barsabas, was scratched from the race. That was a 20-1 shot. You were looking to light it up. And I said, look, we don't have to talk about this race if your top choice scratched, but you came right back. So you must not like the short price horses in here if you still want to play this race.
Yeah, this is a race where I like the 20-1 originally because I could see the race really heating up, and it still could really heat up, and I could have a bad pick here. But talking about knowing jockeys, the 10s Solardi with Espinoza. I mean, at the end of the day, I really don't trust him to try to gun over and clear. This is not his thing. He's going to be 3 or 4 wide and going to improve next out. That's just how he is. And Mr. Iceman didn't break very good last time. But even if he breaks sharper, Pratt's not really the type of jockey just to send into another horse. And so the more I looked at it, it's one of these races where it's kind of opposite of the last one where I don't trust all the cheap claimers dropping. This is the kind of race where I think if what did we say his name is? Swazali? Yeah. He broke poorly last time. When it was poorly for the race, he didn't actually break bad. He just didn't break running. And the horse that won that race, Bolden, is an absolute turf monster. And I thought this horse didn't get the exact ideal trip that it wants, but it still ran through the wire. It never quit. And today I can envision this. If this horse breaks sharp today, I just think he just might be long gone. And I just think he's probably the best of the speed, where some of the other riders aren't really interested in trying to crack this horse early. And this horse is very brave on a lone lead, especially going 5/8. So if he breaks sharper, I think it's his race to lose.
He's a very fast horse, and he always has been. So I kind of agree with you with the tendencies. If one of the other jocks tries to go and run neck and neck with this horse, it's going to get cooked, because this is a fast horse. And again, I was talking about happy, healthy horses and claim. Look at this horse's claim. Horsemen want this horse in the barns. Happy, healthy, sound. Kristen Mulhall took the horse for 20. She's like, no one else is getting. He's my horse now. She protected him ever since. Ran really good races. Freshened him up a little bit for this spot. So I agree. First blush, it does look like there's a lot of speed on paper, but Sawasdee is the speed of the speed. And, it's a good horse. Good, fast horse.
Yeah, what's interesting, that was a 12 horse, a full field last time. And he was 5-1 to Bolden. Bolden would be 1 to 100 in this field. I mean, it's, I think this is one that John White will be. This horse could get played. He could be a little sick when this horse goes off at 5-2.
Yeah.
I think he's going to take money, but I think he's the best horse if he breaks sharp.
Yeah, well, it's also possible that everyone lumps onto Mr. Iceman too, just because of Pratt and Miller. So maybe you do get a little whiff of value on your horse. So again, Paul suggests a win bet on that horse in race 5, number 3, Sawasdee. Let's move to race 7, $40,000 optional claimer, non-winners of 1, fillies and mares, 1 mile on the turf, rails at 12 feet. Morning line favorite, number 2, Lakota Spirit at 3-1. 1 of 2 Phil D'Amato runners in this full horse field. How are we playing this race, and how are we going to get paid?
We're going to bet the double, and we're going to single Lakota Spirit. I thought her race off the bench was extremely good. She drew the outside, and it was a very slow pace, and she was wide the whole way. And I like this. A lot of times you see fillies when they're fresh, they're really more into the bridle early, and she never was ranked. She was relaxed. She just stayed wide the whole time, really finished well. Linda Spirit got an absolute gift that day. She walked in the lead. And of course, she came back and improved her class. She won the stakes.
On the red carpet.
Yeah, she won the red carpet.
Yeah.
So I love how she finished that race. Next time out, I would expect a horse like Lakota Spirit to bounce a little, run that big off the break. But she ran really well on dirt, which to me just signals how strong her form is right now. And I like that she showed speed on that surface, and there's not a lot of speed in this race. And these are kind of races that come down to a jockey's race, and I just think that she's the best horse. She's third off the layoff. The fact that she was engaged last time so early, I just think she's probably a very healthy, happy horse, probably just on the improve, as a lot of Curlins do get with age. And I think she's probably a complete standout here.
Now, I'm assuming you wanted to play the double because you're thinking her win odds might be a little too short for a win bet, and you're trying to extract as much value as possible as you can.
Right.
Is that right?
Exactly. And I think the next race is the public is going to perceive it to be really wide open, where I don't. So I just think I think the double will pay more than the win parlay on 2-7.
Okay, so let's talk about race 8. It's the featured race on the card, the $100,000 native diver. It's a grade 3 for handicap horses going 9 furlongs on the main track. I did this race for the Del Mar website, so you can check out my full analysis at dmtc.com, or you can go to frankscatoni.com and find my work there. Morning line favorite, number 5, Newgrange at 5-2. I've always liked this horse, and I'm expecting him to run a big race today. But there are a couple of 3-year-olds in here that still have a lot to prove, and have probably matured from a couple of months ago. Talk us through this race, Paul.
Well, who did you like, Frank? Did you
I thought I thought it was Newgrange, and I thought Newgrange was my top pick, but I wanted to come back and play Newgrange on top of Mr. Fisk and Skinner, and then Skinner and Mr. Fisk on top of Newgrange. I saw it as a 3-horse race, and that was it.
Yeah. Mr. Fisk is just a horse that strikes me as a horse that just wants the more ground, the better. And I loved him in the Shared Belief. And by the time we had gotten in that race, I thought he had no chance because it was a day at Del Mar that you needed to be on the inside part of the track. And if you were on the inside, no one really did any running except for Mr. Fisk, who I thought had absolutely no chance. I thought that, Tahoe Sunrise was just going to go to the rail and be gone. And so I really thought he ran really well. And he's run well in the past, fresh. I know he wants a mile and an eighth. And I just don't – I know Vizient, the Peter Miller horse, is got to go. And Arrow Great's got to go. And I think he's not as that – I don't like Arrow Great that much or Vizient. They've never really proven anything to me. Newgrange, I just don't know. It's just never really been enthralled with that horse. He's just never really done anything for me. I just think he injects more pace to the race. And I just think that Skinner is really a reputation horse because being back hurling with sheriffs. But, I mean, he really hasn't done any running of serious note. Like, maybe he's going to be a better 4-year-old. But to me, Mr. Fisk is just – I think he's a horse who's kind of just late developing, been overmatched a couple of times, had the perfect setups. So to me, I just think it's a race where there's so many ways you can go. I think this horse is going to probably lay a little closer to the pace today. And his last race to me is so much better than whatever kind of speed figure you can look at, just knowing how strong the inside was that day at Del Mar. And
yeah, I do agree with you. I mean, in a race like this, I think everyone's going to use those 3 horses on their tickets. So anytime it's a race like that and you have a strong opinion where you can just single and everybody else is going to lose 2 out of their 3, multi-race wager tickets, and you're still alive with the horse that you singled, that opens the gates up for you for the, for the rest of the races. 2 things about Mr. Fisk, Tahoe Sunrise. I believe that horse just came back and ran a very good race yesterday or 2 days ago.
He won on Thursday. Yeah, he very nice.
Yeah, it's a very nice horse. And then I was reading in the stable notes that really likes this horse. He said that this horse is going to be a very, very good 4-year-old. So for him to say that, we're late enough in the season where he's almost a 4-year-old. So I agree with you on all that. I was thinking more Skinner. Skinner could win if the race falls apart. That was my thinking. And I was thinking if the track, because sometimes over the summer we saw that the Del Mar main track really, really favored closers. So I was thinking if it was one of those days and the race fell apart, maybe Skinner could get up there and win. And then Newgrange, I agree with you. I've been waiting for Newgrange to run that like big monster breakout race, and it hasn't come. But I've always liked him, but he has been a little disappointing. We'll see if he shows up today. Paul's going to play the race 7 double with number 2 Lakota Spirit into number 7 Mr. Fisk in race 8, and just whack it good. And if you're right, it'll be a very great way to close the week.
Perfect. Sounds
all
good.
Right, Paul. Thank you so much. This wraps up Sunday's Best Bet. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Thanks so much to my man, Paul Kush, for giving us some key plays for today and such great insight. I always love talking horses with you, Paul. I'll see everyone next Saturday on track for my 11:35 handicapping seminar outside the Hacienda room. Till then, as I always like to say, good luck to us, and let's make some money. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having me, Frank.
All right, Paul.